Okay, welcome everybody. Happy to be with you this afternoon for Experience AI and AI Safety via Digital Moment and Logix Academy. You can grab the slide deck there. I'll drop it in the chat in just a moment for you so you can save the slides and all the references that we have for you today. First and foremost, though, my name is Danny. I am a Logix Academy consultant. I am a teacher out here in BC. So I just walked out of work and came home and sat down in front of the computer to hang out with all of you. I'm the MC today, so I'm going to be hanging out in the chat, taking care of everybody's questions and things like that. And keep me on my toes. Ask me anything you want, and I'll make sure that either I'm answering or I'm politely interrupting so that we get you the answer that you need. My main role is a teacher librarian. I also work with AI technology a lot as in my role as a consultant with Logix. But I am here with the man of the hour, German?
Quite close. It's Herman, but yeah.
Herman, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. We didn't go over that. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for the introduction. And yes, please, something that you said that is going to be very important is please do interrupt. I'm happy to be interrupted as many times as needed, as long as we get clarity, as long as we can get the ideas through. My name is Herman. I work for Digital Moment. I'm the programs and training manager for the organization. Today I have a little bit of a man's voice. I apologize. I try to cough very little, but hopefully we have a really nice session. We get to hear from you, and we all learn a little.
Perfect. And you might see I had to choose a cat or a baby to be in the room with me today for the broadcast. So you might see a cattail go by my green screen from here and there. Of course, I would like to acknowledge all the First Peoples in whose territory my school district traditionally resides. That's a paraphrase of our official land acknowledgement. You can go check out your land acknowledgement wherever you happen to be, if you're on the road, where you live. And that's native-land.ca. It's a great eye-opener. And I love the maps. I love the overlapping territory maps and discovering where you are on your land. And of course, I am here on behalf of Logix Academy. So like I said, I'm a consultant. Logix is made up of kind of this amazing team of kind of the coolest people around. It's a network of educators who are all practicing in the classroom or as digital leads or tech leads. We have lots of great partners, but you can check out everything that we have to offer at logixacademy.com and on all socials at Logix Academy. There will be a feedback survey coming up at the end, and I'll drop that in the chat. That's really important to us. If you're like, I learned so many great things today, but here's where I want to go next. That survey is a place you can drop that in. And literally we have this chat group where people will request stuff, and then I'll just watch these amazing people sort of cook it up, and then the Prody is coming at you the very next moment. So stick around for that. And we also have to say a big shout out to Digital Moment. They are the providers for this training today. I just get to be a learner along with you and ride shotgun and help out and add my 2 cents here and there. But you've heard enough from me. I'm going to vanish and mute myself and go into the chat, and we're just going to swap stages here. Great. And away we go.
Yep, for sure. Thanks so much, Danny. So what are we doing today? We're talking about AI. We're talking about a program that is called Experience AI. So the first thing is that I said a program. I said Experience AI. We're talking about this. I'm not charging anything. The program is free, but it's a program that is full of resources. And as part of the resources, there's an area that covers safety. Experience AI is a program that helps people learn about artificial intelligence, but the key part is that it's a student-facing program for ages 11 to 14 for them to understand what is this technology without using LLMs or any other type of AI technology. We're going to take a look at that. Ask me questions. You have the slides. You can follow along. So the first thing is that I told you who I am. I told you that I work for Digital Moment, and we've been working with AI since 2019, creating content and presenting information to students and teachers. But this program was not created by us. This one, because of the transformation that has happened within the AI environment, we we realized we needed something a little bit deeper, a little bit more expansive, and a little bit more uh, inclusive for the bottom of the population. And the bottom of the population is everybody, because we're in a pyramid of AI learning where at the bottom we need to understand what the technology is. Then all of you as educators, then you have the second level where you take that technology and you make that technology part of your daily lives in order to improve your quality of practice. And then the third level is how are we going to introduce this and present it to our students? And that little top of the pyramid is the one that nobody has the right answer right now. We all have many different options and alternatives, but we're trying to figure it out. But everything starts by understanding what the technology is and it is not. And that's what the Raspberry Pi Foundation. The Raspberry Pi Foundation comes from the Raspberry Pi, but it's a different part of the foundation, and it deals is with pedagogical teachings and learnings. So they said, we're going to create something on AI, and we have great pedagogical resources, but we want a technical side to give us support. And they found it via Google DeepMind. So they allied themselves, and with support from the Cambridge University, they created this program, Experience AI. I'm going to show you briefly what the program looks like, and, and I'll tell you what you need to do to get it. To get it, it's going to be easy peasy. I'm logged in now, but if you go to Experience AI, you can register there. It's free for everybody, and then you get many different resources. And among those resources, you get 6 different lessons on foundations of AI. You get AI and safety. Today, I'm going to show you how this looks. You're going to understand what are the ideas, how the program is structured so you can implement it. And also, there are some individual lessons. The beauty is that it has all the pedagogical background, all the support for non technical teachers to understand. It has lots of videos, lots of cases, lots of activities, slide decks, lesson plans, and many other things to support you. Remember, I'm not charging anything for this. We were funded by the Raspberry Pi Foundation to divulge this information within Canada, and we're very happy to do so. And it costs nothing for students and for teachers. So I want you to check it out. And if you have questions, suggestions, we're here. I'm Herman, Digital Moment. Just reach out at any moment, and I'll be happy to help you with that. But I don't want to keep this like a long commercial on Experience AI. I want to show you what are the structure or the ideas that Experience AI has for safety. Most of the lessons they have an explanation of what the concept is, and then it provides different activities for you to do with your students, for your students to do in groups in order to understand all of the concepts that Experience AI has. In this case, AI and safety. We're going to touch on 3 of them, and those 3, the first one starts with your data and AI. So we start talking about data, how important it is for artificial intelligence. When we talk about the concept of artificial intelligence, how models learn, how computers learn, we talk about data. But in this case, because we're talking from the perspective or the point of view of safety, what we're saying is your data and AI. It's already our data, how it's being used, what should we know, and how can we protect ourselves? How can we act? Or how can we make better decisions? All of them have objectives and ideas of what we're learning in each one of these lessons. For me, the most important part here is that we're talking about data. And as I said, it's our data, but it's data that we're already providing. So for this part of your data and AI, there are 3 different activities. I chose one to show you today to illustrate how the activities work and how can you present this to your students in your classroom. The three chapters within the AI and safety, they have an interesting format. They have a video, and then you as an educator, you decide if you want to present the video first, then have a discussion, and then unplug activities, or you want to move these activities in different ways so that they fit more your style. The way that I've done it with students is that before the video, I like to have a conversation to see where is the baseline. What do we understand about these concepts? Are there any things that we have in common? And we find that there are many elements that our students already know and are thinking about. And then I present the video. So some of the ideas spark some of those concepts, and then we find alignment or we find places where we disagree. And then we go into unplug activities and then discussion points. But you can do it any way you want. I'm going to show a video now. You're going to have to let me know, Danny. I didn't see if we enabled sound for the video.
Yeah, let's give it a shot.
Let's go.
No sound on my end. Oh, maybe. No.
Okay, so let me stop the screen share and let me try to share again to see if we get it to work.
Sure.
Yeah, why not? Give me 1 second. And present, share screen, tab audio. Okay, it's gonna have to be a tab. Let's do it that way. I'll share the tab and then we should be fine. There.
And then I'll put it back on the stage for you. There you go.
Perfect, and we click play. We apologize, but we should be back.
Artificial intelligence is powering systems all around you, and data created by people is what drives this new technology. It's more important than ever to make smart choices about how to use and share information. There are ways to keep information safe. If someone decides to trust a company with their data, they expect the company to use it responsibly. This is nothing new. So how should AI systems change the way you think about data privacy? AI systems work differently to software people might be used to, and use data in new ways. Traditional software uses a rules-based approach, which involves using logic carefully designed by a programmer. Data goes into the program, and the rules define how it is processed to arrive at the output. Newer AI systems use a completely different data-driven approach, training a model with loads of example data. Instead of following rules, the model detects patterns in the data and repeats them. When a user scrolls through social media, the platform uses a model that has been trained using data about videos and the users watching them. That model generates a feed using data about the user, like their age, gender, and country, as well as content they have watched and engaged with in the past. Every time the user watches a new video, the platform has more data to make better recommendations. You might want to consider where the data used to create the model came from, and whether users agreed for it to be used that way. For example, the pictures or videos someone shares online. How would they feel if an AI model generated a picture that looked just like them because their data had been used to create it? A platform might get data about how users interact with a model. When someone supplies data as the input to a model, it should be clear what happens to it afterwards. Companies should present users with choices about the ways they use data. Using the powers available to you, check the privacy settings of a platform you are using. Make sure you are happy with how your data is shared and used. Protect yourself by thinking carefully before sharing information. Check your profiles and your settings. Decide whether the benefits of a tool are worth it. You can always find alternatives if you're not happy with a platform's policies. Think about the data-driven systems you already use. What data are you providing them with? How do you think it is shaping the output? What data privacy choices will you make in an AI-powered world?
Perfect. So each one of the units has a video like this. They're about 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes. They're pretty short, but as you may have seen, they contain lots of information. It's a little bit overwhelming, lots of uh, facts and little pieces of data flying everywhere. But the important part is that your students are going to have three different activities to break down these concepts, to understand them a little bit better, to get to think about them. And in these activities, they're all done in groups, small groups where the students can just negotiate their ideas and try to stumble over concepts and get a common agreement of what's happening. We're going to explore one of those. So we're talking about data and AI. And this activity is called Data Detective. It is recommended to do in groups of 2 or 3 people. You decide, you're the master of your classroom, you know what's best for your students. But then the idea in this case is that what we want to do is to get our students to understand and to be aware of what they're giving away, what they're sharing on the social platforms. Something really important within the program is that at no point are we judging their decisions. We're presenting options and we're presenting options for them to decide how they want to proceed. And we're going to see this here, and we're going to do it via something that, for most of us, at least for me, is one of the most terrifying things that we ignore every single time. And we're going to consider in that case what data are we sharing that is our data, and the other one, what data is generated by the platform that is being also transmitted. So, what are we giving away? How much do we know? And regarding what we know, how do we decide if we want to keep giving this much, less, or maybe more? Who knows? We're going to have this fictitious character called Aya. So, Aya, she's at a cafe with a friend, and then they're having a milkshake. They're having a great time, and then she says, "This milkshake is fantastic. This moment is great. I want to take a photo." So she takes a photo and she posts the photo in a social media app. The social media app for this case is a fictitious app also called Buzzworthy. And we can recognize that we've all done this at some point. We've taken a photo, we share, we like something that seems normal, seems great, and it resembles something we've done many times. But then the interesting part is that after some time, she starts realizing something interesting. She starts seeing on her app more posts about local cafes in her city. And Aya is pretty clever. So she starts saying, "Oh, interesting." And then maybe she starts seeing ads about a milkshake fast food chain. She says, "So how is this happening? Uh, how are these things connected? How is the system knowing how to do this?" And this would be an interesting thing for you to inquire with your students. Do they find this normal? Do they find this weird? Many times, what I find, especially among friends, I find that we're so used to that. We're looking about, we just type rice in YouTube at some point, and then we're just inundated with rice recipes and commercials. And whoa, this was really fast. But it's interesting is understanding the concept. So what we're going to do, and this is the part that I told you that we're all terrified and run away from, is decoding terms and conditions. I don't want you to raise your hand, but I want you to think how many times have we, any of us, read terms and conditions? Is that thing, terms and conditions is the shortest way to a click of go, continue. I just want, give me the app, give me the cookie, give me whatever I want. I don't have time to read it. And if I have to read time to read it, it's going to be too confusing. The key part is that the terms and conditions are provided here. I'm going to show them to you shortly, but they're done in a way that anybody can read them first. So there's no legalese anywhere. They're short and they're structured in a way that is very easy to find the information we're looking for. What do we want to look for within these terms and conditions is what personal data am I agreeing to share when I sign these terms and conditions? What is the usage data? So what is being collected from the things that I do that is not my data? Then what AI systems are being implemented in order to process my data and my usage data? And can my data be shared with anybody else? Or is it just with Buzzworthy? Because Buzzworthy, I love them. They're so good. They will never hurt me. But I don't know somebody else. We're going to take a look at that. And sadly, we're going to have to jump back to stop presenting and presenting again. We'll do this dance just once more, and that's okay. So let me stop sharing and let me present again my full screen so we can take a look at the whole thing.
The digital detective activity, I've done similar things like that in my classroom, and the kids love it. Like they love getting sort of the curtain pulled back on how it's all working. It really engages them in like, oh, I get it why this is happening to me now. I get how there used to be a really great similar activity with like it was like code.org or something back in the day, where it was like different social media profiles, and they had to put together like all the different clues that people leave behind on the internet. Great activity.
Yeah, I really like that you bring that experience in the classroom, because it really brings these things to your face. Now you cannot escape them, and that's very important. The next step is then they have to decide, but now they have the knowledge, they have the power, they can decide based on information instead of just like most of us, let's just click.
Yeah, if there's anything a teenager likes to know, it's how people are trying to trick them. They love it. They love it.
Yeah, yeah. And sadly, way too many ways by way too many people. But then that's where we are. Okay, so am I sharing my screen again, Danny? Perfect. Thank you so much. So let's take a look at personal data. What are we sharing personal data? And this is what I wanted to show you. These are the terms and conditions. It's a document that is pretty short, 7 points, really easy to read and very easy to find information. It almost all going, if you start going from top to bottom, you're going to find these things. But I was doing this with some students, and I also did it with my daughter. I said, okay, let's take a look at personal data collection. And then you start seeing their faces. Like, what do they expect and what is truly unexpected, or they start finding unfair or unjust or weird. And in personal data, we're sharing is your name. You said, okay, yeah, that could be my identifier, my handle. Yeah, sure, that's my handle for the application. Email address, okay. Phone number is one of those that some of them start questioning, like, when do we talk on the phone? Why are you sending me messages? That never happens. Location, country, gender, IP address, and any photos and videos you post. So we're giving away a lot of our things. And in the classroom, the idea is not to judge any of this, it's just let them collect, let them talk, and you start seeing their faces and their reactions. And then at the end, everybody's going to have a discussion, a conversation of what we think. Then we start thinking about the usage data. And usage data is that the activity that's being collected when we're using that application. So clicks, likes, comments, shares, saves, videos viewed, and watch duration. So that's starts showing a lot how deep this process is digging in order to do what? That would be the interesting concept. Why is all this information being collected? And one way of saying it is to improve the quality of the platform. But there are many interesting ways to say this. The other part is that then we're saying, okay, what AI systems are being used? And if we scroll down, then our AI systems analyze your activities such as posts, likes, and photos. So if it is analyzing photos in order to see that was a milkshake, so that it can promote ads about milkshakes, that means that there's an image recognition system that is working behind the scenes, and then after that image is being recognized, there's another AI system that is a recommendation system. So we're finding those engines happening, and they make the apps work. They do in many ways to make them better, in other ways to make money, which is the purpose of the application. The other thing is third-party organizations. Third-party organizations, I'm going to save you the trouble, is here. Includes advertisers who may use your data to show you ads that are more relevant and interesting to you. So who are they sharing this data with? They're sharing with advertisers, so the advertisers can target you directly and provide things that, as they say, they're more interesting to you. But then the important part is that now, if we know that that is the case, then we have the knowledge. Now is the question, what should I do next? And remember, today my tone and everything, I've implied many things, but with the students, you will never imply. You present the fact that they're doing the search, you're just guiding them. But then the idea is, what should I do? And this is the interesting conversation now for the whole classroom. Should Aya share her data freely for better recommendations? Let's be honest. Most of us, this is what we do. But then, if we're aware of it and we agree, then at least we know, and it's our conscious decision. The second one, we adjust our privacy settings and choose who to share data with when possible. Or if you are a little bit more reserved, that will be something that I find great, but I don't think a teenager is going to go for, is limit her data sharing to the minimum necessary. But once you have the knowledge and the information, then you have the breadth to have an explanation of why is then data so important, why is then data so valuable, and why that data is your data, is your students' data, is my data, and why that is propelling and moving these things. The concept that we've been hearing for a long time, and now we just hear like a broken record, we are the product. When we don't pay for the product, we end up being the product. That is the structure that most activities have. They present a concept, and then you can wrap it up as an educator after with the other resources provided. We're going to go, I'm going to make a pause here just for a few seconds to see if we have any questions. And I'm going to take that opportunity to switch to the other view, because we're going to have another two videos and we don't need to do any more switching. But I want to know if anybody has a question.
We are clicking along pretty good right now, but I love what you're saying about teaching students about, if something's free, you are the product. I think it's sort of like the siren's call of the internet age, to be honest. And I think there's certain circumstances where it's not a direct truth in terms of like the service. Like, lots of companies give software to schools for free because it makes lifelong customers. But at the end of the day, you still are the product. It's just knowing, what am I being commoditized as, or how am I becoming the product in this instance? Because sometimes, like, hey, I get a free license for AutoCAD and I learn how to do engineering drafting. That's a pretty cool thing. That might be worth disclosing some data. Whereas if you're just going to disclose to, say, generic social media service, and become an ad target for the rest of your life, maybe that's not an exchange that's worth your disclosure. And I think just making that informed, nuanced choice is a really good thing to start talking about with kids.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And that is the idea. And the idea of this is to inform, to understand, and for us to develop, and our kids to develop critical thinking in this age of AI that is going to be more and more important, is to understand these concepts. So we talk about data in the first one. If you saw some of the terms and some of the concepts in the video that seem fairly advanced at the beginning, Most of those concepts are covered in the fundamentals of experience AI. So the teachers that had a chance to present some of those to the students, they will already understand some of that information, so will make it a little bit more palatable. The second one we're going to talk about is media literacy in the age of AI. So we put our data to the side now. Is how do we understand media literacy? How do we avoid truthiness? How do we embrace truth? How do we learn, or how do are we aware of being conscious of checking our sources and making sure that we don't transmit misinformation or disinformation? For that activity, the idea is that we're going to see how we as users and how the AI tools that we use are perpetuating misinformation. So one of the things that you've seen in those two is that we're not just saying, oh, these companies, these developers, these people. No, it's all of us. We have a responsibility, and it's how do we inform ourselves, how we make decisions. And we're not saying, oh, these companies that are perpetuating misinformation. No, because we're perpetuating disinformation with them by not paying attention to key elements in different places. And knowing a little bit is going to help us. And this activity that I chose gives us kind of an idea, but let me show you a video first.
The internet provides endless sources of information for you to choose from, ranging from news organizations to your favorite creators. Deciding the level of trust you place in online content is an important part of media literacy. Seeking multiple sources to double-check the facts and only sharing trustworthy information are essential skills in a modern world. You are growing up in a world where AI-powered tools make it easier to quickly produce high-quality media. So how should this change the way you consume and share information? Generative AI tools allow people to generate text, images, and videos that look extremely real. This could be used to create misleading material called misinformation. The first step to generating something is writing a prompt, a description of what someone wants to create. Generative AI systems are created from lots of example data. The patterns found in this data allow the model to generate new content that reflects what the user has asked for. You might, for example, ask for a blog post about a historical event, or a video of a scientist sharing their findings. But you should know that generative AI does not always produce factual content. Instead, it prioritizes content that fits with what the user asked for. A blog post about a historical event would normally contain dates and references, so the AI model will probably include those in the output. But if the facts you ask for are not in the data, then it may generate fake ones. The model can only work with the information found in the training data or in the prompt. In the case of a blog about a historical event, the dates will look correct, but may not line up with the actual timeline. Make sure you double-check any generated output. What happens if a user asks for media that purposefully contains misinformation? Here's where things get tricky. Information included in the prompt will definitely appear in the output, even if it's wrong. The realistic content produced could then be used to influence public opinion about a topic. As AI tools get better, it will become more difficult to tell whether a piece of media is AI generated. Instead, you need to check information and find multiple sources before you accept something as fact. Sometimes people make content that provokes a strong emotional reaction because they're hoping that people will feel too angry, upset, or excited to double-check the information. In the future, hopefully more platforms will be transparent and clearly explain their use of generative AI, so people can decide whether to trust them or not. What sources do you use to get your news, and how likely are they to allow generative AI? In an AI-powered world, you can be a critical consumer. So what skills do you need to separate fact from fiction?
So this video takes us in a very interesting direction, and we're still infants in social media in terms of evolution. We're still trying to deal with the messages that our uncles are sharing online or some of our friends, and then disinformation or misinformation that those are transmitting. And we find how much it has changed the concept of true and reality in the world, how challenging that has become. But now AI can come and increase that level of misinformation because the information that is providing, it seems so real, and it seems so well presented, so well structured. The grammar is good, the graphics are good, and then it feels like when we used to get the truth from a book, like, oh, it's already in a book, this is serious, this means business, this is something that I can trust. What can we do then? How can we support our students? So we do something that is called an action plan. And this is one of the activities, another one to do in groups. And the idea for this one is to try and think how to deal with different situations that we're going to be presented with. And we're going to consider different elements. The first one is if we start imagining that we saw an interesting piece of content, anything from different sources, how will we react if we see something from TV news? And I could even say half of this TV news and half of this TV news, depending what network is presenting this information. What if it's from social media in general, or what if it's from a messaging app? What level of trust do we assign? And most importantly, what level of trust do your students assign? Like, very likely, this is non existent for most of your students, if not all. They're getting the information here, and then how will they assess that information? What weight will they give to any of them? And considering that, are they going to share it? Will they ignore it or double check it? What will be the ideas or what will be the process? So that's kind of the initial train of thought. And then if we ask them, what will influence your choice of action to share, double check, or ignore, what will you do? And what we're saying at the beginning, this activity is to create a set of rules. It's our program. Computational Thinking 1.0, we're creating our traditional program that follows our logic and is saying, and if then, what are we doing? If the topic is, what type of topic will you share? What is the type of source that we share? What is the type of presentation that you will ignore? Or what information are you going to share regardless? Which one are you going to check? What are you going to ignore? I like always to say a really silly example to simplify this concept is that if it's anything that has to do with cookies, I'm going to share because it's cookies. Come on, it has to be great. When will I double check it? If maybe it's telling me something that I don't like, but I'm afraid of, maybe that's when I double check it. And I will ignore it if it's something that it seems outside of my comfort zone of my understanding. That could be a basic if then rule that they can create in their group and say, this is my game of my plan of action. This is my idea. This is how I'm going to react. Or maybe even this is how we are reacting to these messages. Then the next question is, okay, what happens if those things that I just said, they're AI generated? So it is not Johnny, your uncle didn't create this. It was an AI system created. How will that change your if then rules? Will they hold? Do they need to be changed? And what considerations do you have? Let's try a few examples. So there are a few examples part of the program. I just grabbed three here that I think present the concept and work very well in classrooms. The interesting thing is that we have a secret weapon. We have something that is called a generative fact-checking application called Check AI. So Check AI is going to take a piece of information, is going to let us know for sure, 100% guaranteed for now and forever, if that content was generated with AI. So let's take a look at the first one. We have this news and it's talking about protest, and then it's saying there's a small news organization article about ongoing protest for student rights. So it's about students. So if we're in an education system, that seems interesting, is something that we can consider. And then it says a local news company reporting on protests happening in the city. Then what will your students do? How will it fit the if then? Will they share it, double check it, ignore it? We're seeing that is something that is in the news, so it has some weight. It has to do with students and education, so it might be something that they feel passionate about, and then they make their decision. Let's say that they decide, you know what, we're going to share it. Let's go with that. Now, let's go to Check AI. Remember, Check AI is infallible, and it's telling us that the text in this news article was written with the help of an AI tool, but it shows signs of editing and refining afterwards. What the conversation then is, how do they feel? Is this okay? Maybe it's okay because it was written with the help of, but it was refined. Somebody checked it. Maybe they make sure it was okay. Or do they feel like, no, they need to ignore it now? How does their mind change? This one, if it's to me, it seems quite benign. We don't have enough information to say that was fully altered, but the important part is what are you students thinking? So there'll be one. If we go to the second one, it's a little bit different. Maybe something that they will relate even more to is a social call out. So a social media video about a celebrity's bad behavior. I'm sure there's going to call their attention for sure. And then this video is, imagine your favorite celebrity misbehaving in public. And then it has to do with police needed to intervene. And then are they going to share, double check, or ignore? The important part is to go with the rules they created first, and then they can have a conversation until they figured out the rules. They said, oh, but this is about a celebrity and this is the police, and it maybe how is that going to change? But Check AI comes and says the audio in this video has been partially generated by AI for the purpose of reenactment. Then what happens in that case? How does that change that story? We see maybe the video of the person or the setting, but now we don't know if the voice of that person is really that person. Do we see them really talking? How do we act then? How much is this going to change that desire to share? The last one, let them post. So, a controversial research paper suggesting social media should have no age limit. I think your students are going to be interested in this one. So, what will happen then? The research goes against the current thinking in the field. Are they going to share it with their friends? Maybe with their parents? I don't think they're going to ignore it. Double check it, potentially. Let's go to Check AI. And Check AI says, you know what? The paper was partially generated with AI and not edited. So it's just AI. And some images have also been generated, included a couple of charts. I don't know if you have tried generating charts, but it's an interesting world when you try to generate charts with AI, depending on the data that you have. How does this change their reality, their perception, and their concept about the media consumption and sharing? As you can see, this is nothing new. This is a level extra to what we're dealing with social media for a long time. And we're still infants in trying to understand and manage those complexities of social media and truth, mistruth, misinformation. So it's more important than ever to emphasize on that critical thinking and to present these elements. You saw that none of these, I gave you the answer to any of them, but I can give you something that is certain, is that Check AI, it says here, does not exist yet. And the most important part is that it will not exist. Assuming that something like Check AI is going to exist is like saying in cybersecurity that there's going to be a system that is going to be safe for everything. There's going to be a better AI checker that is going to be cracked by a better AI, and then they're going to keep competing. We can never fully rely on these automated systems, and you have seen this in your classrooms already. And the consequences that this brings for us to rely on these tools that detect AI, sadly, many times and stop punishing some of the wrong people for the wrong reasons. So, as you can see, these are interesting things that is bringing the conversation to the classroom, is providing the material. Remember, the slides that you see here, they're just a small portion of the slides that are provided in Experience AI. The videos are provided there. Their glossary, there are lesson plans for you as educators to know how to run them, how to take this. We have still some time to do the third one. The third one is using AI tools responsibly. So in this one, what we're trying to see is we're using these tools. We know our students are using these tools. Then what are the responsible expectations? What are the expectations that we as users have? What are some of the understandings that we need to have in order to use them safely and to share them with others? You know what's coming. It's a video. Let's start with the video and then we'll go into the activity.
Technology can help people get more done, stay connected with friends, and make parts of life easier. But while AI tools can be helpful and useful, it is also important to consider how to use them safely and responsibly. The developers of AI systems want them to be easy to use, approachable, and user-friendly. The media around AI and the user-friendly interfaces can make AI systems look and sound more human than they actually are. For example, marketing campaigns might represent AI systems with smiley human-like robots. Or when chatbots seem very human in their responses. Some AI systems are given realistic human voices, but AI systems are just another computer program, and they cannot think, feel, or understand. When someone uses an AI application, they should remember they are using a tool and are responsible for how they use it. Technology should empower you, but you still need to stop and think about how you use those powers. If someone uses an AI application to create a video of another person without their permission, even if the system allows it, the creator is responsible for their actions. There might be legal consequences to the use of an AI tool. There can be enormous benefits for society from using AI tools, but we need to decide when and where it is appropriate to use them. Rules that apply in everyday life, like not copying someone else's work, still apply when using AI tools. AI systems might be biased, where the output impacts a certain group of people differently to others, in unfair ways. When someone uses an AI tool, they should think carefully about who it will affect to make sure they're not causing harm. Developers making the AI applications also bear responsibility to help avoid harm. They need to make sure the system is fair and should be accountable to users. You should expect transparency from developers, being open and honest about where an AI system is used and what happens to your data. You are growing into a world that will be shaped by the use of AI across society. Building a set of principles for using AI responsibly will help create a world that harnesses the benefits of AI whilst reducing any potential harm. What safeguards should companies put in place if an AI tool is aimed at young people? How will you make sure you use these tools safely and responsibly?
So this video presents at the beginning something really important, the concept of AI as a tool itself. And that is a really deep message, especially because something that we all done is, as she said, is to represent AI with a friendly robot, with a human face, with a voice that is humanoid. And one of the consequences of us doing that, of anthropomorphizing artificial intelligence, is that we're demotivating our students. And in a way, we're demotivating ourselves. That's why we start asking ourselves, our students, our families, what is then our future role? If it's as a tool where there's a human in the loop that is helping create, that is helping maintain, that has oversight and is working using the tool or the device, we have some meaning. When we provide an embodied sense to the technology, then we're extracting that meaning. And that is very dangerous for our students because then their lack of motivation to learn, it's not that representative anymore. Because if the AI is going to do it all, is not they're not going to use the AI to do, or is not something that involves the human but replaces the human, then that has big consequences. Now, that was very dark. Let's take it a little bit lighter now in this part to say the challenge in this one is called Check AI challenge. I simplified it a lot, but this is a challenge that in the classroom is lots of fun because then the groups start getting points as they discover clues. So I don't have it set up this way, so we don't make this that long and complicated, but as they find and go over different of these challenges and try to understand different concepts, they start finding different numbers, like in a treasure room or secret hideout where you need to figure out how to escape an escape room, and then they get points. It's lots of fun, but I simplified just presenting three things. It's going to be the concept of fake accounts, AI errors, and talking about bias. So we're going to express those three in, we're going to see fake accounts, then is trying to realize something that is so clear now, and every day that it passes, this slide is going to be less relevant, is how hard is to tell an AI created thing from a non AI created thing, something real from something generated. Let's start with that. I'm going to give you a few seconds, or you can write it in the chat. You can tell me any way you want. There are some of these images are real, and some of them are AI generated. So there are three of them that are AI generated. I want you to think and let me know, or try to guess which one of them, which of these are AI generated. Three of them. You can put the number.
I love this game.
I know. And it's so hard.
I'm going to go. Do you want me to guess?
Yeah, please.
I'm going to guess three.
Three.
I'm trying to count the teeth on number six. Number six.
That's great. Okay.
And I'm going to go number 8. 3,
And
6, and 8.
3, 6, and 8. So I'm going to tell you something that you should feel very proud. This is the largest number of images that anybody has found in over 20, 30 sessions. So you get a medal. That's great. So that was really interesting. You were counting the teeth. I cannot see a difference in the teeth. What else did it call you from this one?
Number 6.
Yes.
It's got a bokeh background. So I'm a media arts teacher. So it's
Okay,
got a bokeh background, which AI
got it.
often bokehs the background. I was counting the teeth because often there's too many.
Yeah.
Um, and just like the eyes often give it away for
Yeah.
me. I could
Okay.
see number one also being potentially an AI, but
You're very impressive. This is the one that people guess the most, and it's because the earrings, the number three, the earrings are a little bit off, and then that's the one. So the three are 1, 3, and 6. So you just need a little bit more time. That is
yeah,
amazing. That is great. And this one, the more I look at it, it's a little bit harder to figure out because at the end, these things seems to match with that. It's confusing, but number eight, what what made you think about number eight?
shiny.
Too shiny. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a yeah. My students and I love doing this, and I teach
Yeah.
a bunch of students that don't really like AI, so they're artists, right? So they're very keen
Oh,
to
of
point
course.
out the
No,
flaws.
you're reaching the right audience there to do this, and I'm really impressed. So show this to your students; they're gonna nail it. But that's the idea, and the key part is that for everybody else here, I'm guessing that we don't do that well. We
No,
really, it's getting really hard, and then we start things. For example, number two, because we see those bricks landed, and we said, "Oh, that one is gonna be fake." No, it happens that that's how we take photos as humans, but then that works. So this will be one. People get a way to make guesses, and then they get guesses. They put the correct. So we make a game out of this. The second one is talking about AI errors. We're going to take a look at only one of these, but it says, for example, the Amazon rainforest located in Antarctica, and then it keeps saying things with good grammar and everything sounds good and interesting, but it's telling us the Amazon is in Antarctica. So the students get to locate what is the error, they provide the answers, they can get more points. And the last one that we do is spotting bias. So the bias, we know how important is to understand and realize there's bias in the data sets because bias happen because we provide insufficient data or the data that we're providing for the data set is incorrect. But most importantly, something that AI is doing that is really important for all of humans, besides all the other great things it's doing, is that it's just getting a mirror, putting it to our faces, and amplifying our biases. So hopefully that's going to help us in a way realize some of the bias that we are not aware of and help us solve it. The problem is that in the process, a lot of people will suffer the consequences of these biases. And then this is highlighting those things. So we're highlighting fake accounts, biases, and false information, and then the idea at the end is to talk about the concept of transparency, accountability, and fairness, and to have this conversation within your students and in your classroom. And I made it with 1 minute. I know I rushed a little bit at the end, but we're there. Thank you so much. You can see this is Digital Moment. This is me. If you need any help, you want support on this, you just want to chat, just book me, send me an email, and I'll be happy to support. And thank you so much, Danny and Logix, for having me today.
that was so great. Thank you so much for that. I'm just going to quickly add up our feedback slide. So with 1 minute to spare or slightly less, we've got about 60 seconds, it looks like. Please take a minute to fill out the feedback form. The link is there. I've just dropped it in the chat as well. Let us know if you wanted to see a part 2 of this. If you want to see, if you stumble on this in a couple weeks and you're watching the recording and you're like, oh, that was really great, you can fill out that form. It's monitored. You can fill out that you watch the session a week from now, even, and say, hey, I would love to see a part 2 in my district, or I'd love to see a part 2 go out live. Let us know if there's things that we can do better. We also want to know that because we're trying to get better every day, just like everybody else. So That was terrific. I learned a ton. That was super fun. And I'm going to make myself a medal for guessing all the AI people correctly. But thank you. Thanks to the audience. And we are out of here. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.